Dominic D'Angelo of SEScoops.com, and I am here today. We are live, as we have been, on RVD's YouTube channel. And guess what, guys? Guess who's here? I bet you can't. It's RVD. Rob, how you doing, man?
Good, dude. Happy Thursday as it is. This is, by the time this airs, this is our Christmas special.
Hit it right, you know? Bring out the holly.
Merry Christmas, dude.
Merry Christmas, man. Yeah, that's true. And it will be pretty damn close to Christmas. So,
well, I mean, doesn't this air on Monday?
Airs on Monday. Is it Monday Christmas? I can't even keep track of the dates.
One week is my birthday every year.
Oh, how about that? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, guys. Speaking of, Rob, how was the birthday?
I guess I don't need the Christmas hat.
Tell him.
No, he's already laughing. I think he already heard the Christmas hat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I heard the Christmas hat. That's good stuff.
We get a picture for the thumbnail for this.
Sure.
Yay! Rob never wears a hat.
You're gonna wear a hat? Oh man.
In the holiday spirit.
Wow. This is the first. What a way to start the show. Oh my god.
Ho, ho, ho.
Screenshotting this right now. Give me 1 second.
Put the doobie in your mouth when you're doing it, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yes. Merry Christmas, everybody.
That was the most festive thing you've done this year.
That was tremendous. That was worth the price of admission right there, guys.
Dude, I'm all partied up.
Right, jeez. So yeah, Rob, how was the
party? Inside
How
joke.
was your birthday?
I talked about. It was good. It was awesome. It was awesome. What did we do? Did we do something? Did we eat or something?
Your birthday? No, I think we just watched Petrie.
No.
The rest we can't talk about on YouTube.
Oh, we were kicked off. No, it was it was good, dude. We didn't go anywhere, and a lot of our time is watching our doggy slowly wither away. She was picked up from the emergency room a couple days before Thanksgiving, and we were told we should expect like a couple days, and it's been over a month, and it's crazy because she still has good times throughout the day where she's happy and frisky or whatever, but then but we know that our time is very limited, and she's losing weight, and she's got cancer, and she's old, and so anyway, she's a priority. So I can't believe how many weeks I've come back and said Petrie's still with us, because she already got to go to her own services, which many never get the ability to do. But we had to get together with a bunch of people and celebrated Petrie's life a month ago.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
Hey,
so,
that's kind of a roundabout birthday gift for you too. You get to spend extra time with. Yeah.
That's the thing, is we were like, oh my God, she's gonna make it to your birthday, and then like boom, a week past it. Well, almost a week past it now. Not really. It's about 3 days past it.
Yeah. Now I know you don't really do too much for birthday stuff. Did you get gifts, anything like that? Nothing to that effect or anything?
I got some gifts. Yeah. But I mean, it's not like sitting at a table and with a family sitting around it with a cake and candles.
You don't get a party hat on.
But Dee did get me a cake, though. That was really nice of her. She made me one.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
With sugar-free.
Sugar-free. High in protein. No, it was good.
What flavor of cake?
Peanut butter.
Oh, yeah. Peanut butter's a great one.
It's probably been a lot of years since I've had that even, so that was special.
A little change of pace, switching it up a little bit. Well, cool. I guess I wanted to, guys, if you want to get stuff cooking, feel free to use the super chat. You can comment below, ask a question, and be sure to like and share. That always helps the algorithm out with these live shows. We got almost 40 people in the zone right now. So thank you guys for joining us. We have a whole hodgepodge of people from different areas. Some guy, Battle Creek born and raised, is in Blanton Senior. So that's where he's coming in.
Nice.
Philly.
By the way, I was this many years old minus one when I found out about cotton candy grapes. Do you know about these things?
Yes, I do, Rob. I do. I worked at Whole Foods, and that was a hit. Like, and I worked in produce too. So, like, anytime cotton candy grapes, man, I actually forgot about them. So, like, you reminding me, I'm like, I want cotton candy grapes.
I never heard of them growing up. I don't know if they were around in Michigan, but saw them here at a grocery store last year, and we were like, it does taste like cotton candy,
doesn't it?
Damn.
Freaking crazy. I like it.
And then,
oh man,
some of the grapes, even though it says not genetically modified on the label, some of the grapes we bought recently were like the size of plums. They were so big. And I always wonder, like, how are they growing these naturally and not modifying them? Because
right, there's got to be something there.
Yeah, huge.
Some corner cutting's happening for sure. Jeez, no, that stuff's great. Are you into apples at all by chance?
I don't know if I'm into them, but I like them. But I usually only eat them when they're sliced up. So
that's how I do.
Yeah, I'll buy them in the bag sliced up, and they taste good. They're fresh, but even though it probably is more economically beneficial to just buy the apples and slice them myself, I don't do that.
Yeah, I will recommend if you ever happen to go into like a produce section and see there's opal apples and they're yellow, so that they look like Golden Delicious, but they don't taste like Golden Delicious at all. They're like super sweet and they are amazing. They were one of my other favorite items that we used to have too. And I kind of miss them. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Yeah, there was a lot of different kind of grapes. We had so much Concord grapes, the Muscat grapes, which were a little bit more bitter and such. I could go on. Okay. But if you guys have a produce question, feel free to use the super chat. So,
put a link to some grapes down below.
A link to some grapes, yes. Yeah, there's some grape stuff. Well, something I also, is there anything that happened throughout the week that you kind of wanted to touch upon with you, or anything going on basically that like follow up from last week, or anything in regards to that, Rob?
I don't think so, dude. I wrote down like a few things. I think all of it I'll just say for the end. Well, okay. Here's something though.
All right.
Something that we were talking about. Katie mentioned this. I thought she had a damn good point. And I thought, that'd be interesting, just as a topic, just to hear people talk, because it's really hard to put a dog down, but people put dogs down when they think the quality of life is shot and they're suffering, and it's inhumane to keep them alive like that. So then it's a judgment call, because then, it's like, but is the dog getting enough good life, or is the bad life bad enough, or whatever, however you want to look at it, it is a judgment call. You are playing God. So the question on the table is that right to do? Most people would say, yeah, if the dog's suffering. But what Katie brought up is you don't do that with humans. If you think about it, think about old people that you go see in the hospital, your grandmas or whoever, or stuff you even seen on TV if you don't know anybody like that. But when they're old and they're dying and they're like, oh, life sucks, and they're hooked up to machines, and they're complaining to the person they're visiting, their guest, about, oh, I just wish God would take me in my sleep. you still at that point don't push a button and kill him. Dr. Kevorkian made something, machine, the self-assisted suicide machine, which was based on the moral borderline that I'm bringing up right here, and he was saying that it should be up to the person, especially if it's the first person recommendation saying, yeah, it's time, I'm ready to go. And the person, of course, would push a button and it would inject, I don't think it was cyanide, but whatever it was that would go in a person and kill them. And he made this little van, he'd drive around and visit people, and it was a death machine, and it's at a haunted museum here in Vegas. Baggins, what's that dude's name, baby? Zach Baggins Haunted Museum has the Kevorkian death machine, and then people think, ooh, it's got to be haunted because all the people that went in there and died and killed themselves, which we don't know. I was telling Katie, like, hundreds of years ago, right here, this could have been a battlefield, or a cemetery or whatever. But definitely when you think about how many people there are and how often people die, then how old the earth is, you think about all the generations that have gone through the history's lost on some of them. But, so like if with people, you let them die, you do everything you can to keep them alive by all the means available. Then if you look at a dog different, then maybe you just don't look at a dog like a member of your family, like a lot of us do, and a lot of people don't. But to put the dog down and then see the dog like perk up and have good moments on the way to the vet and be having regrets or whatever, that's something that you'd have to be willing to deal with if you just had your mind made up that no, it's not the same thing. Put the dog down. So I thought that was what we're talking about. What do you think?
Yeah, that's really, it's really that when you mentioned that, like the dog perking up and like you're taking it back, that took me back to when I put my cat down, like about like a little over a year ago. It's like he had an issue that I wasn't like, I didn't know what was going on. He was really bloated and full of fluid. And they could have like looked at him with a ultrasound, but there was so much fluid there, they wouldn't be able to tell what it is. So they'd have to operate on him. And then after that, they would likely find something bad. And they were like, I was asking the person, I was like, what do you think I should do? And they're like, it'd probably be best to put him down. And like, I'm in this just room with the cat, with my ex-girlfriend at the time. And I'm holding him and he's kind of walking around, like just kind of almost perked up like he normally is in certain ways. And it's just like, it's so heartbreaking to kind of like,
that's rough, dude.
be in that situation and make that call. And it's like, man, it was tough. And yeah, it definitely, and that's a great point Katie makes, because yeah, we don't do that with humans. And with animals, like obviously they can't communicate with us and anything like that, but it's like, man, you want to give them the fullest life you can possible. And it's such a tough, that's one of the tough aspects of having an animal. And but I mean, ultimately I always think that the good outweighs the bad, because you get to love it and give it a life that
I'm glad you said that. I was thinking the same thing, like hopefully in the big picture, all the benefits and the love are worth having to go through those bad times. That's what life is. Hopefully living is worth, the misfortune of having to die.
Right. And that's what how many people say the journey is what really matters instead of the destination of it all, because it's like you get to have these life experiences. And I had so many pets growing up as a kid. And, like, I'm appreciative of every one of them that I've had. And it's just like, to give that animal a life well lived is something to be appreciative of. And I can only imagine how Petrie feels about it. So
yeah, we're amazed every day. We're blessed. We have an extra day with her, and she's just like, like she's not ready to go. She would tell us if she was ready to go, but she has some rough moments where she's gagging and throwing up a lot, and then we have to think about it like, God, like I can see where if this was all life was for her, how that would suck, but fortunately it's not, it's only part of, part of the life at this end stage of the game for her. So I just, I thought maybe some of our listeners might be pet owners, might love their pets and be able to relate. And, I love to give people stuff to think about.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah, share some stories about your pets too. Feel free. I'll be sure to mark them, and I'll try to get a few up here before we end.
I might have told you this before. I don't know, but how like country people, they're able to be so matter of fact and cold for and you know what I mean. They got to raise the chickens and the cows and then kill them and eat them. So you gotta be able to do that and look at it like a matter of fact, like you're feeding your family. And those motherfuckers, sometimes when they get like litters that they don't want, like one of their animals gets pregnant, has litters or whatever, they'll take them out in the woods and shoot them. I don't know if you know that or not. I've heard of that. And Sabu said that that's how he got his dog. His brother was doing that. He ran out and his brother was in the woods behind the house or something, shooting these brand new pups that were just born. And Sabu got there and got there in time to save one. And he said he would have saved them all if he could have, but that dog became Sabu's pet for years and years. Big black lab, awesome dog. Yeah.
Black labs are great. Oh man, yeah. No, that farm life is completely different. Like I know my mother.
Same with hunters. Yeah, even like hunters, you got to be able to. Yeah, you got to be able to have a thick skin around your heart to even go out and kill a mama deer, take her away from her family to hang in your garage,
Right. And people, yeah. I mean, I grew up in a hunting town and everything like that. We'd get days off of school, first day of hunting and stuff like that, so people could go out and hunt. And it's like a big aspect of life.
Yeah, it was big where I grew up too.
Was it? Did you get days off from school too?
I don't remember that. I don't know if that happened. I don't think so, but it's possible.
It's very strange.
I remember seeing the deer hanging up in my neighbor's garage, and I was like, "Oh!" But the dad was just like, "Well, we got to eat. How do you think you get the food that's on your plate?" And it's like, I get that now. Like that's the view is like you either got to do it or get someone to do it for you. But I'm definitely the guy that's going to get someone to do it for me.
Right? No, I'm not about that. There's too much to deal with when it comes to that. I get too emotional when it comes to animals sometimes. Well, something that was emotional, not the best kind of segue, but I mentioned it last week. I got to see the Iron Claw movie, and it was really heavy, very emotional, and but they took some liberties with it too. But I was fortunate enough to actually just interview Chavo Guerrero yesterday about his role as the Sheik in the film, and
he was he was the original Sheik. Chavo was. Okay.
He was the original Sheik. Yep, he worked. He's in one of the opening scenes. Oh, what happened?
I went the lens off and I'm clearer now. Should remember.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're good.
All right, let's start over.
That's okay. Alexa, turn off.
So what Chavo have to say about playing the Sheik? That's awesome.
So I asked him, I was like, what were your interactions? Like, did you get to interact? And like, he had a pretty strong relationship, it sounded like, with the Sheik. I'll read the quote that I have. He said, I knew him when I was a kid. He was a wrestler with my grandfather. And he was I remember watching him and stuff that you do in Japan and stuff with Abdullah, the butcher, who's very maniacal and different way of wrestling. He wasn't like a leg wrestler in a sense. He was like this storyteller. He would tell with blood and just this deviant person, ex-wrestler. He was so good at what he did. So I remember watching that. So when I played the Sheik, now he mentions how he does a little hybrid in a way of like, doing it for the screen and still paying homage to the Sheik. He said, now it's a little hybrid. I had to throw in, like, you can't just do straight storytelling. I had to throw in some moves. So anybody who's gonna watch this, and you'll probably notice this too, he's like, well, the Sheik would never have taken a backdrop, but that's the liberties that we do there as well. But I would have tried to get, some of the stuff that he would do in there, the biting and the eye gouging and stuff that, that he's used to. So when I played that role, it's like I said, it's a hybrid, and I have to put some of in the Sheik stuff, but I got to put some of the stuff that keeps the people watching and entertain. So he kind of balanced it out. He was talking about. So pretty neat.
Nice.
Pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for Chavo, man. I've always liked Chavo. I can't think of anybody that's come across him that's, said anything except for that he's cool and a gentleman. I mean, I could see him standing up for the boys. If somebody that was pestering the boys on the outside, it could come across that way because he's old school. But I don't even know a particular incident really but good guy. And I like seeing him doing his thing. He's he was in Glow, the Netflix series, and he helped train them for that. And I know I think he's been in Heels. I think he was one. I don't know for sure, but I thought he was part of that. But either way, it's it reminds me of his uncle Mando. When I first came to LA, this was my first day in LA. Louis Spicoli had picked me up from the airport. And we were driving down to San Pedro where Louis Spicoli lived. And every time we would pass by anybody that remotely resembled a possible celebrity, it would be a funny joke for Louis to point them out, because I was excited to be in LA, I'm like, dude, I want to see Pam Anderson watch the film Baywatch, you know what I mean? And show me where Hollywood Boulevard is and stuff. Let's go. On the way home from the airport, we'd drive by someone, he'd say, look, Harrison Ford. And we'd look and he'd be like, man, the guy doesn't even look like Harrison Ford. We'd drive back by, and someone, he just kept doing that the whole time. We'd pass a black dude with a mustache. Look, there's Sammy Davis Jr. We'd be like, man, come on. We get up to this car, this long sedan, and Louis goes up there. He goes, look, it's a shoot Mando Guerrero. No, really, it's a shoot Mando Guerrero. Look. And he was like, hey, pull over. And Mando Guerrero pulled over, and Louis pulled over, and they started bullshitting. And Mando was talking, and like I said, it's my first day there, and Mando was talking about the Hollywood business, saying that he does that now and that he's into doing the stunts and helping choreograph, whatever, wherever his skills can be. And he was talking about a day of meetings and auditions or whatever that he was just coming back from. And I remember thinking like, wow, that is so fucking cool. That's what I love about Hollywood. And so it's cool to see Chavo in that same path, doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of neat too, because I started off the interview. His dad was actually in the 1978 Carl Reiner film, The One and Only, which is a pro wrestling movie with Henry Winkler. And he played like a character just named Indian Joe. And he was only in there for a brief second. I was like, do you remember that stuff? And he's like, yeah. He actually said that was a huge motivator for him to later get into the show business aspect of it, seeing his dad do it. So pretty neat. Yeah. I love Mando Guerrero, and I think so what's always cool I hear about is DDP always gives credit to Mando Guerrero, because I guess during the AWA he had the Pat Tanaka with the Diamond Exchange was in a tag match, and Mando Guerrero I think it was tagging with Chavo maybe, but he did a leaping plancha off the top to DDP, who was a manager at the time. And DDP always credits him as like that was a big moment for him. And then he was able to do it too when he turned like 50 years old or 60 years old. And that's pretty cool stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I love the Guerreros.
Yeah. Definitely. They definitely have a lot of respect in the industry.
Right.
For sure. So, yeah. Whenever I'm over with a family that's over, it always means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like when I know that like the Guerreros, same thing with the Samoans or the Harts, like whenever I find out that there's like a family, a dynasty, and that I have their respect, that they appreciate what I do, that it's pretty deep.
Absolutely. You mentioned like you formed a friendship with Brett. Did he talk about you and your work at all, like in the ring at all, to an aspect when you guys would, have conversation or anything?
Not that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember ever talking about that. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, people say talk about dream matches and stuff like that, and they always mention him and Kurt Angle would be great. But dang, the style that you guys had, like you using, as Jim Ross would say, your educated feet, and Bret Hart being like the sharpshooter, that's a good story you could tell.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Brett was the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. But I don't know. I always wonder if my style would be maybe a little bit snug for him, and I would disappoint him in that way. And I would hope not to, but I look at that as a possible outcome.
Right.
Damn,
Yeah.
man. What's
This is how it goes. Chris J, thanks for the super chat, $5. He said, "No question. Hope everything's going well for Dom and RVD. Excellent podcast. Thank you all."
Awesome. Appreciate that, man. Wish we got more feedback. I didn't invite a guest this week, and I thought maybe we'll get some feedback and figure out like what people think. Is it better with, better without? Because I like it both ways. Like we had Marty on, and then I had my friend Tim Chismar on. I got a big list of people that I would like to have on, and we will. But I don't know if I should have them on half the show or have them on for the whole thing or what. And this way, when we're doing it, then I'm not interrupted, and I can speak my full thought out till I'm done, and thereby coming out with some amazing stories that people get to hear that they might not have. And so that's something that I give up when I have somebody. So this week, wasn't planning on having anybody. Next week probably will, but if you give a fuck, leave us a comment and let me know what you think.
Keep us posted. Yeah, we're always game for feedback. I'm always up for it. Constructive criticism is always good. And actually, wow, this actually is a good segue into my next topic I was going to mention to you. So, MJF got inducted into the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame this week. And the website that I work for, SEScoops.com, actually had a exclusive conversation with him. And he gave an interesting perspective on how he thinks why some fans have animosity or very critical of AEW in certain ways. So I'll read the quote to you, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it too.
Okay.
So take a look here. He says, "I genuinely feel," and he was talking about like he's able to say that that they're so different and kind of abrasive, or not abrasive, but just different in a way. And he was comparing that to his Jewish heritage in a certain way, how it kind of like pushes back against society in certain ways. So here he goes. He says, "I genuinely feel the reason that a lot of the time you'll find a lot of, and don't get me wrong, there was most certainly constructive criticism online, genuinely, but you'll find a lot of non-constructive criticism online. Just wild, irredeemably messed up shit that people are saying that either is untrue or just mean, And I think the reason that that's happening is Monday Night Raw is the longest reigning episodic television show of all time. We have only been around for 4.5 years. That's new. That's different. And what's different? Different scares people. So I actually do agree for once with Tony Khan's assessment of AEW being the challenger brand to WWE. And I think that's the issue. I think that the issue is that we're fresh, we're new, we feel dangerous to people. And I kind of get off on that because I get to be the world champion of that danger and of that change, just like I get to be a champion of the Jewish people. So, Rob, obviously, like as ECW, you guys were very much of an underground / challenger kind of brand in that regard. You guys kind of had that certain aspect or identity. What do you feel about that in regards to like being an up and coming brand and MJF's comments on that?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So, yeah, it's just being a brand that is kind of different in comparison to WWE and the fans' criticism towards that. Do you think that is part of the criticism? Why a lot of fans are criticizing AEW? Because it is different. There's like the pace of the matches and the liberal use of blood more so, and certain aspects of how they tell stories is very different than in comparison to the WWE. And do you think that's an aspect that maybe why some fans blow back at AEW.
Yes, I think so. The question is, hi Jennifer, I love you. I see you in the chat room.
Hey, Jennifer.
Oh, hey.
The question to me though, is that the way it should be or not? Which my perspective on that is that AEW is a lot more reflective of today's current product. But I think the new young guys in WWE also represent the new product. They just seem a little bit more detached to the foundation because of the corporate structure of WWE, all the agents, all the authority that trickles down to the talent, keeps everybody abreast of when they're crossing lines, when they're doing things that aren't done for a certain reason. I feel like with AEW, it's more free thinkers, maybe a little more, like, hey, there's no reason not to do this move. And it's not that no one ever thought of that move. There's a reason, nobody wanted to take that move before. It's dangerous or whatever, or it kills the business. You know what I mean? The setup for that move is not worth executing that move. There's one for me. I'm old school. That's a rule that I would teach if I was teaching a school or a seminar. And I don't like, I'm not too open about all the inside information that I would share within the industry. But I would say that though. I would say if the setup exposes the business, it's not worth the fucking the move. I don't care what kind of pop you think you're gonna get. And that's, not just today. That goes back to like New Jack, going up to the top of the building to find a scaffold to jump off of or to throw the guy off of. But the whole time you guys are walking hand in hand up 20 flights of stairs, killing the fucking business. For me and Sabu, we'd watch that stuff and say, oh, and it gets worse. And I don't want to name some guys, but some of the guys, they look like they don't even think anybody's watching them. They walk hand in hand up to a high spot and go up there, go to the edge, look over, get prepared, get all ready to drop, and then they just want someone to swing at them, and then they just jump, and then they think they're going to get a pop just because they went through the tables, and maybe they will get a pop, but I'm not popping. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not. I'm like, oh my God, like you just killed the fucking business, and I don't like to see that. And there is a lot of that kind of a feeling that comes out on the newer products. And I think that that's a big part of it, as far as people saying, it's different. Yeah, but it's different because of this. It's different because it goes outside of the rule that we used to have of protect the business first, number one rule, but it's not anymore. So the further we drift away from that, the further we make it a safe, friendly work environment for everybody and make it politically correct. And the more we change it, everyone's always going to be bitching that, oh, it's not like it used to be, because it's not, but it is what it is. And so that's why I think AEW and their talent, I think they're like, hey, you know what? I hear you, but I'm not really listening. Eat my dust. We're doing it. And we're proving everybody wrong. And so that's their perspective. That's what makes change. Is it good? Is it for the better overall in the big picture? It's not good for the old school foundation of what wrestling was. But if I'm going to accept that is a thing of the past, then what? Now I got an open, clear mind to look at it from a different perspective and to judge it by what it is. Is it entertaining? Fuck yeah. Are people watching it? Yeah. Is there a lot of talent? Absolutely. So I think we have to change our standards because the same product isn't going to be offered anymore that used to be.
Right. And you look at from past generations, each generation has been kind of almost critical of the previous generation before.
Yeah,
Like,
always.
we did it a different way, or
Yep.
there's certain aspects where like stuff that you would do would maybe upset, I don't know, like a Luthez or something off the top of my head, or I don't know, but it's just like that. It's just always going to be kind of changing, and you either have to kind of adapt to it and accept some of it, but there's, like he mentioned too, like MJF mentioned in the quote, that there's like viable constructive criticism here and there that happens, and like that's something you have to take onus and acceptance of, and dismiss the haters of it all. So it's just
No.
filter through that kind of thing is the tough aspect.
It's really difficult waters to navigate as talent. I mean, life's hard enough, but inside this mysterious, phenomenal, half real world that doesn't live by outside rules, it's really hard to really believe in yourself, but don't believe in yourself too much, and know in your heart that you're better. You'd be the last one standing in the room, but don't vibrate that. Don't let everyone know that you think you're better than them, like you're a pompous ass or anything. But at the same time, keep that confident, show it in the promos, but don't have so big of an ego that you're going to get heat for everyone back there. It's really not that easy to find the balance. It does take a huge fucking ego to do. And then you got to hide it. Basically, you got to have a huge ego. And then if you can't humble yourself, then you got to hide it until you learn to be humbled. And eventually you'll realize, wow, all those promises that were made to me that blew my head up, they're not all coming true. I think I believed in too much BS, and everyone, I think, has to go through stages of that until they get humbled. I think. I mean, there's exceptions to everything. I'm sure there are to this as well, but it's really it's a real challenge. Like you got to be nice to the right people politically, get on the right people's good sides, and maybe not even be seen with the wrong people. That's how catty and childish like the political game can be, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, is there somebody in retrospective, when you look back at everybody you worked with, from any type of promotion, that was actually really good at keeping that balance of, having an ego, but being able to harness it in appropriate moments, so to speak?
If I understand what you're asking, like it's easy when if you can just turn it on and turn it off with your character, and when it comes to turning it on, then tap into that ego. But you eventually, the best is when that character. You know what I mean? Like, you want me to do a cameo for you? It's your bar mitzvah, and you want this to go. You want this for yourself because you're giving yourself a gift or whatever. Then boom, I just know RVD enough to live through the character to say what the character would say, even though I personally wouldn't. I'd be like, oh, hey, congratulations, that's a Jewish thing, right? But boom, you only turn the character on. Boom, this is Rob Van Dam, Mr. Pay-Per-View, Mr. Hall of Famer, the whole damn show. And you know what? Speaking of damn, it's your bar mitzvah. Whoa, I know you got all your people there together, and I'm invited too, so I feel special. So thank you to your wife, Karen. You don't have a wife, Karen. You made this cameo by yourself. You made this request because you don't have any friends. No, I'm just joking. But I'm just going off there. But the thing is, like, knowing your character and being confident in that is enough to not have to live through that 24 hours a day. For me, I don't know, it's different for everybody. You know what I mean? When like someone comes out to me, if someone comes out to me and I'm not at an arena, but I'm at the grocery store, and they say, dude, you're like the best fucking wrestler that ever fucking existed, then I'm just gonna be like, hey, thanks, dude, I appreciate you. You know what I mean? But it's not something that where I'm like, where I'm like, yes, I do know that, and this guy knows it too. So we both know this common fact together. Wow, he's cool. It's subjective. It's a compliment. It's great. And it feels good to think that this guy thinks that highly of me. I think, with time, you learn to humble yourself. Life humbles you. You're gonna get disappointments. Who goes through decade after decade after decade through their whole life with no disappointments, having every possible best case scenario come true? Probably not too many, and the more disappointments you get, you learn to pull back a little bit on your expectations. You start adjusting a little bit. Eventually, there you are. You're humbled.
Right. One way or another, life is going to humble you. It'll hit you at some point or another. And so it's kind of good to keep it in perspective when you can, if you're at the top of your game, so to speak. Something that kind of ties it back to the Chavo conversation too, is he mentioned to the guy that played Kerry Von Erich in the movie, Jeremy Allen White, he mentioned to him, he said when working, he's like, it's not necessarily the moves that are the most important. It's what happens in between the moves and like paying attention to those little details of the aspects of going into it. It's not the car crash that tells the story. It's what you build up into it and how you connect it all. And he said that is an aspect that kind of tends to miss in the modern product of wrestling nowadays and has kind of ventured away. Is that something you'd kind of agree upon, is like the in between the move storytelling aspects of it all?
Absolutely. That's why I can tell that they're not committed to the mindset, because they take breaks in between the moves and check out and check back in. It's almost like they're saying, okay, I got to run across the corner. I got to be in that turnbuckle at 7:57 and 32 seconds. Boom. Then once they're there, it's like, okay, I got 10 seconds to check out. All right, I'm going back into work. That's what it looks like to me, because what they're doing in between is leaving, going somewhere. They're not in the fight anymore. They're not sensitive to what their body's feeling anymore. They've completely, they completely abandoned the mindset so that they can think about what's coming next, and maybe even want to let everyone else know, including the crowd, that they're ready for the next spot. They're in position. And then and then when the guy comes running at them, they're going to move when the guy's halfway across the ring, and the guy's going to keep running into the corner, even though the guy just left 30 seconds before to make him look like a dumbass. All of that tells me they're not committed to the mindset of the competition. That's something that got beat into me. We stayed committed the whole time. I was like, his shoulders are down, get on him, jump on him. He's choking you, grab his hands, try to pull his hands off of you, like fucking bam, you're out of the turnbuckle. That fucking hurt your back. You fucking like believing in it to where it's all, really happening to you in your mind takes a special kind of commitment that takes experience. It also takes a special comfort that some people with all the experience in the world aren't going to get.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it too, especially like the comparison of like, hey, clocking in at work and I got 10 minutes, and then you get back into it. It does have that vibe where it's like you're getting me taken out of the story if I'm watching it, and you're not fully trying to be the aggressor on this thing. There's an aspect that I always kind of grown at when I see wrestling is when a pin attempt happens and the guy kicks out at 2 and the guy acts like, like, what the fuck? Like, how did he kick out? It's like, you don't react like that. If you're in a fight and trying to win, you're going to just keep pounding away at him or keep on your game plan. You're not going to just be like, oh my God. Like,
right. Yeah. Not every time, maybe once in a while, if you really thought you had him. And then another thing on that I see a lot of is the guy on the bottom will just they'll kick their legs, but their shoulders don't even come off the mat.
Right. Yeah.
I see that so much. I'm always rewinding it and pointing it out to Katie, like, look, that motherfucker's still pinned. Who the fuck let them out of kick out? 1, 2, 3, your shoulders are still on the mat, even though you just kicked your feet. You didn't do anything. You You did not change the pin at all by kicking your legs if your shoulders didn't come off the mat. So that's something that really bothers me. Yeah.
You not only like make yourself look bad doing that, but you make the referee look bad too, because he's like, geez, your shoulders are down. Why is he making the 3 count?
And also, one could say the referee makes himself look bad if he doesn't hit that third pound.
Absolutely.
Depends on the policy and the job. That used to change with WWE all the time. You know, they'd come around, and if they don't kick out, I want you to count 3. You know, if they're not in the ring, by the time you count 5, if they don't let go of the choke, and they would do that for a while, and that was to train the wrestlers to believe in what they were doing. But they really didn't do enough of it. But I thought it was great when they made that the policy, and they were like, refs, fucking, hey, you know, how are people going to believe it if you don't believe it? Fucking count them down if they don't kick out.
How often did that happen, Rob, would you say, when they instilled that rule? Like, would that be a common thing, or would people just be more on their toes about it?
When I was in WWE from 2001 to 2005, it came around at least twice. And maybe a third time. Third time could have been later. But it came out at least twice. We're okay. This is the rule. This is how it is for now. And then after like so long, then it changes. That's true with a lot of things. The policies are always rotating. You know, there could be like, hey, no fighting outside the ring anymore. That's a new rule. And then a few months later, that's going to change. We thought maybe that's what the dress code was going to be, but fuck, they never changed it. And all of a sudden now we got to start wearing pants and long dress pants and dress shoes and button up long sleeve shirts, whatever. I don't think it wasn't a long sleeve shirt, but anyway, I thought that was just a new policy that was going to last for a minute, but that would happen a lot, you know, like, okay, now if the call time is 5 o'clock, you're going to get written up if you show up at 5:15. And so the referees would be standing by the door with a pad and paper. They were the chosen stooges. Mickey J one time, I was like, dude, you're stooging on us? I couldn't believe it because I just knew him so long. You know, I've known him since I was like 21 in Florida. Like, dude, you're stooging on us? Because he's standing there right now the time we walked through the door to show up. And he was like, what the fuck do you want me to do, Rob? It's my job. And I was like, he's got a damn good point.
You know what?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's got to be a tough position to be in as a referee, but I feel like, yeah, there's just all those kind of rules change, and you just got to kind of adapt to them and accept them, and whatever happens, you know, it's a. And I'm sure
I always liked that one. I always liked it when that was the rule, when the refs calls were official, and it would piss people off that were caught off guard out there. But that was the idea, I think, was you got to step up your fucking game.
Right. You got to be on your toes. You can't be just hanging out and looking at the lights, you know? So, cool. What else did I want to mention to you too? Oh, okay. So this is another aspect. And Katie talked about this a couple weeks ago, I believe. I brought this up to her, and I kind of want to get your perspective. So there's news that broke that both Charlotte Flair and Bayley had signed new deals with WWE. Long contract extensions, and apparently, reportedly, the deal that Charlotte got is one of the most historic or biggest ones that a woman has ever gotten in WWE history.
Wow.
And so it includes like a bus, apparently, too, like, you know, so like what Cena and Cody Rhodes and Randy has and all that stuff. And so, and then, yeah, it was just reported today that Bayley signs a new deal with WWE. And then Becky Lynch was in an interview, and she mentioned she is going to be a free agent in 2024. Her contract is not reported yet to be extended, but, you know, it's supposed to expire, I believe, in the summer of 2024. Anywho, she mentions how she wants to retire with WWE. But it really speaks, all this news kind of breaking kind of really speaks to how women's wrestling has really taken a new level, like in regards to how popular it is and how assimilated into the show. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the state of women's wrestling, how she thought it was very successful and really cool how, you know, they're getting a bigger platform. What are your thoughts on women's wrestling, the state of women's
Yeah,
wrestling.
I think that's great. I think that from what I understand, that the contracts are bigger now, and it's not. It's just something I read. It's not even something from like a reliable source, but something that YouTube taught me that could or not be true, that said that they were signing talent to a much bigger, higher money contracts now, that was something that was already going to go into effect before the big merger with the UFC and Endeavor, whatever. So that plays right into this, and I think it's great to give the women their opportunity like this, because women wrestling is very popular, and for the first time in the wrestling industry that I know of, the women give the men a run for their money in the talent department. So it used to be, and I don't care if someone disagrees with me, then I disagree back. It used to be that you could count on the girls' match to suck. It was an added attraction that was cool, like a midget match, like, ooh, there's a ladies match on the card tonight, and therefore it didn't necessarily matter even what the girls' names were, and they built up from there by some of the girls getting reputations and getting followings. Still, in like 2001, when I was in WWE for the first time, and you look around at all the girls that were there, there was a huge difference between the girls' matches and the guys' matches, and the girls are beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but they were not kicking ass like they are nowadays. I only knew of women beating the shit out of each other in Japan at the time. And then, who was there, right? I mean, it was Tori and Stacy and Trish and Victoria and the Holly.
Molly Holly.
Holly, thank you.
Ivory.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't mean anything bad on them, but they would get together every day and work out with Fit, and they didn't come across like natural fighters by any means, and there was a big difference, you could tell. And nowadays, that's kind of a little bit more. I think what's spread out in there is like the girls didn't have that commitment to where they're really competing, trying to hurt each other, I feel like a little of overall now with the new age generation style, that some of it is a little bit more like that, in the respect of that maybe it comes across more like a little bit higher percentage on the working together, a little lower percentage on the competing against each other. I think that says it enough. And with the girls, it seemed a little bit more about getting into the spot or being in the right position, as opposed to the guys that seemed more natural. So having said all that, and hopefully I didn't get heat with too many people, especially the ladies, the girls now that have been kicking ass on TV for the last couple of years, it's a whole different breed. They get it, and it seems like the best have come forward. And even with guys, there was in 2001, there was guys that were on TV that weren't that talented, that had jobs because they were jacked, they had muscles, and so the writers would have them squash all of us talented guys that were there. See, I told you we all have egos. And then afterwards, oh, that guy doesn't work, let's get rid of him, bring in another big guy and do the same thing again. There was a lot of that, whereas now there's really not that much room, man. If you're, I mean, the least talented and able people on TV now, would have been probably upper card based on the talent back in the day. And the style has changed that much with or without guidance to what it is now by the favorable moves, the things that were really cool that stuck out to these guys that they wanted to do, that inspired them to wrestle. So here they are doing it, but they didn't have the Sheik or any Killer Kowalski beating the shit out of them, the entire time they're in the ring, making sure that they know that they're in a fight.
Yeah. It's like you look at those guys that added that legitimacy to it, and some of their backgrounds added to it, but just the physical nature that they would bring to it. And a lot of the women wrestlers today, they can absolutely kind of convey that in the ring too. And it is kind of cool to see. And like I always say too, it was 2 years ago, I believe, the WrestleMania in Dallas, WrestleMania 28, the match of the whole 2 nights, I would have said, was Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. Like they tore it up. And like that had like Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens there, and they had a lot of high profile matches there. But from a in-ring storytelling standpoint, they were the best ones on the card. And a lot of people argue too that even last year was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, and that was the show stealer there too. So it's like, it's kind of cool to kind of see that. And you also see it. Road Dogg mentioned this, is like how you kind of touched upon it too, is like it would be an event almost, a women's match is on the card, whereas now you can even put a women's match back to back and nobody would give it a second thought, because it just fits right into the wrestling card, so, and the aspect of it, so it's pretty cool to see, Rob. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they earned it. They really did. Like that's how far the level has come up of women wrestling, and I'm a fan. I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So the chat's wanting to know, what are you currently smoking, Rob?
Would I know? Yeah, I don't know I don't know what it's called. Couldn't tell you. Yeah, I've got like 3 different kinds here that I'm smoking on, and it doesn't have a label on it. I don't know what it is. Sometimes my guy will tell me and I just forget about it because it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. You trust what he's giving you and all that stuff. So
yeah. And I look, when you look at the bud and you smell it and look at it, you get a pretty good idea of how you're gonna react to it. And then yeah, my guy knows me, but it doesn't mean anything if he says, hey, it's Tutti Frutti, with crossed with blueberry, whatever. Like, okay, great. Like, what am I gonna do with that? I'm just smoking it. So
yeah.
and I always feel like people pick up names anyway. I've always known people to do that. Like my friend that owned the dispensary, he would buy all kinds of different weed and just rename it. Name it after us wrestlers, and people would buy it because they thought it sounds cool. Whoa, Van Daminator. Yeah, I want to get some of that. And they wouldn't know, but it might just be OG Kush,
Yeah.
All the time.
Have you tried Kevin Nash's weed? It's the jackknife, it's called, or something?
I haven't, no. Not yet.
Okay. Yeah. I guess it's made in Michigan. Yeah.
Okay.
I could maybe get you the hookup. We'll see. Well, you could probably more than I would even. What else was I going to say? Oh, yes. Before I forget, the chat reminded me of this too. And I know you commented on it on social media. Liv Morgan getting arrested for having weed on her. What are your thoughts on all that? I want to get your opinion since.
Yeah. Well, first off, we don't know all the information, and you know what I mean? So we got to go by what we think happened. And that's always the case. My bus was back in 2006, and probably half the people listening probably still have no idea what happened. They probably think I got busted for smoking marijuana. I didn't. It was in a bag, 18 grams. From what I understand, Liv Morgan was charged with having marijuana less than 20 grams. Same. We put it that way, you can make it sound like that wasn't that much. But some of the idiots talking about me were like, dude, he had so much. He was looking to open up a dispensary and a pharmacy. And anyway, Um, Florida is coming along. It's a medical state. Recreational weed's not legal. It's not a big deal with the state. It's not a big deal with the country. I don't think it's going to be a big deal with WWE. With my bus, by the way, I got pulled over for speeding. They found the marijuana. They found a couple other random things that may or may not have been mine, depending on what they were. But I didn't even get arrested. I drove from the site. You don't drive when you're arrested or when you're even detained. Drove to the station, gave them some money, drove from the station, never went behind bars. It never had anything to do with driving while high. Anyway, half the people, or probably 90% of the people now will be surprised to hear that, or they won't believe it. That's what I think about what it seems like the story is that's out there. So with Liv, first I understand that she's got a synthetic cannabinoid maybe in the vape pen, and she's got less than 20 grams of weed. And that what was it, that she went through a red light or she was swerving back and forth. And then like automatically every report that I get states that as if that was the facts, which may or may not have been. But I know that cops will narrate a ticket the way that they want to, and they could easily say, well, I saw you cross the yellow line a couple times back there. I want to make sure you're all right to drive. That doesn't mean you actually did it, but it's cemented now in her story that Liv was driving in an erratic behavior where it caught the cops' attention. Maybe, maybe not. Who fucking knows? As far as the weed goes, it's not a big deal. Anybody that thinks less of her because she had weed, then they're fucking they're stupid, you know. I mean, that's just I mean, that's your right though. That's your right and that's your values. But I don't know. I mean, eventually everyone's gonna learn anyway that they had it all wrong. I think she should be fine. I don't think that you know, I don't know if it's true or not. I saw some reports that said WWE might be suspending her because she didn't fail a wellness policy, but apparently according to this perspective, she had admitted to it or something, which I don't even know if that's true. So I think either way, worst case scenario, she should be fine. And this should be a statement that's proof that we're moving forward in the right direction as far as just people's rights, as far as living in a free society, and as far as doing a more logical, beneficial thing with the damn plant marijuana, rather than eradicate it and prohibit it.
Right. Well, so actually, your buddy Rene Dupree actually commented on it, and he said the SmackDown Women's Championship. He claimed the company would only give her a slap on the wrist because they do not care about weed. He said, "I think it's just going to be a slap on the wrist because they don't care about weed anymore in WWE." So the guy parroted himself, but so that's what Rene Dupree said. And then I'm also reading a quote here. Eric Bischoff talked about it too. He mentioned, so he says, "I know people that listen to me think, oh, he's such a hardcore conservative, which is absolutely not the case. I'm very conservative on some things, but I'm very socially liberal about others. I think the whole marijuana thing is a joke. I think the fact that she had a ticket because there was a vape pen in her car is just a silly ass joke. I don't get that. There must have been something that the cop must have been having a really bad day, or maybe it was his or her first day on the job. I don't know, but it's silly, and I'm glad there's no heat." So it kind of sounds like there hopefully is no heat with Liv on that. I was shocked to see her getting arrested because I was like, what? That still happens in Florida? I couldn't believe it, actually.
Yeah, but Eric's comments make me think that he must not watch all the videos on YouTube that I do, because it doesn't take a cop having an especially bad day to pull someone over that doesn't deserve it. It's what they do all the time. All the time. It's what they do. And I watch hours and hours of, and I'm not a cop hater. You know, I like good cops, but it's a dirty job. and they look at everybody as if they're criminals. And if they follow you long enough, they'll find something to write you up on. That's how they look at you. That means you're a criminal. You're a lawbreaker in their eyes. They just have to follow you long enough, and they'll find something on you. That is everyone's perspective, and they think they're above the law, and it's just it's just weird. They have this authoritative perspective where they just feel like everyone should do what they tell them to do. And what's great is sometimes I'll see videos of fake cops that are like maybe security guards or something. So they actually do have like a little bit of validity to the outfit or whatever, but then they'll wear that outfit like outside of their job and actually pull people over and actually feel like they should be. And when those guys get busted, man, I love it, because they're fucking they're out there just like you and me, only pulling somebody over and then telling, like they usually don't write tickets, but they'll take your ID and all that shit and warn you and really just make people hate cops more than a lot of people hate cops anyway. And that's not cool, but it's a dirty job, dude. So for Eric saying that, I think that she could have very likely not crossed the yellow line or gone through a red light if that's what she was accused of, which I don't think that was her. I think that was someone else. But either way, that's, if cops want to pull you over, they just do it. And then they just come up with something like while they're pulling their underwear out of their pants when they get out of their car, and they're walking up to your car and they're going, the reason I'm pulling you over is one of your taillights wasn't working, or I couldn't see your license plate, or whatever the fuck they want. It's great to just say you were driving a little erratic. I wanted to make sure you're all right. Or the very popular, you were going a little bit above the speed limit, which a lot of times that's bullshit too. A lot of times, but it's their job. They go around and they collect money.
Right. A lot of them, I'm sure, have to meet like a quota or whatever.
Yeah. And that used to be a lot more popular. Now they deny it, but I think they still have it. But yeah, I've seen videos of that where they deny it. Man, we don't have a quota anymore. And but then I've seen other cops there's some cops that flip and tell you about things, and they tell you about quotas. One of them that I recommend a lot, it's called We the People University. Mm-hmm. And this guy Abaya Israel, he's a former lieutenant, I believe, and this motherfucker does the videos and analyzes them and tells you like what the police did wrong or right in the video. But he really tells you from the deep in. He's a whistleblower, like he'll be like, we're taught, we're taught to just, if you don't have anything else, you just keep saying the same line over and over in a loop. That's what they'll say. Get down on the ground, get down on the ground, get down on the ground. They'll get stuck in a loop because they don't know like what else to say. And he was saying, that's one of the first things they're taught to do. And they don't know. That tells you how experienced the guy is right there when they don't know the next thing. But anyway, We the People University, I love that one. And there's several others too. But anyway, Liv, dude, big deal. So what? If Florida catch up, what the fuck?
Right. I thought Florida was kind of caught up, but I was wrong, I guess. I had no idea.
They have some they have some legalized cannabis programs, but as far as across the board recreationally, we still have a lot of states that haven't done that yet, to where any adult can have it legally without a problem. But it's decriminalized in a lot of places where it's not even legalized recreational yet. So at least, there's nothing or a small fine. So this isn't going to be a big deal.
No, I'm surprised it was. I was like, why is this news? Like I couldn't believe it. But yeah, no, she's a talent too. She's really good at what she does. Great presence on television. So yeah, hopefully it all just kind of blows over. Yesterday's news almost. Super chat. We have a super chat here. 10 pounds. The weekly steel chair. Thank you. He says, good evening, Rob and Dom from Scotland. Question for Rob. Does he think there's anything lacking from the business that was important during his career and what he would like to see get better? Says Reese. So. Anything stand out to you else, Rob? We talked about the little details and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about quite a bit, a little more than I usually even talk about. And the reason it was so much different back then, when I got into the business, I was coming in on the tail end of a period that had gone on for years where wrestlers made their living off of people believing their characters, their angles, and everything about wrestling. So that's why it was so protective back then. They catered to a crowd that wanted to see it real. Nowadays, they cater to a crowd that thinks that everything is set up, and that's a whole different agenda when that's your goal target audience that you're looking at. You don't have to do certain things that you would have to do to protect the business anymore. But it hurts for people that still are attached to the OG flavor. Something that used to be part of the business that isn't so much anymore that I think of is I was taught that stiffness is good. Black eyes are good for the business. It makes the business look good. And I always loved it when I had a black eye. Sometimes a bloody lip would suck just because like I could feel it, if I'm trying to drink or something. But I was brought in that way by Sabu and by the Sheik. Whenever we'd be practicing and we'd get hurt and we get a mark on our face, that's what we'd always hear is like, hey, it's good for the business. And I truly believed that because we were out there for however many minutes, beating the shit out of each other. And even if it was a friendlier match with one of my wrestler peers that I really liked, if we were really competitive, it would still be a very physical and rough match. Not the kind of a thing that any fan would survive the first 5 minutes of. And so for me, I always wanted to get back the respect that I felt like we should be earning in that way. And so if I had to get a black eye to do it, then I loved it. I didn't give it to other people on purpose, but when I busted them open and stuff, and then they were just saying, man, Rob kicks really hard. That doesn't sound really bad for the business, depending on who you're saying that to or the conversation. But I mean, as far as that being a characteristic of a wrestler that the fans would pay to go see, you kick hard, you got a lot of sweet kicks, catch you from anywhere, different angle, boom. Guess what? That's good for the business. So I wish that's the answer. Is I feel like the roughness, the physicality that was better for the business back in the day has been replaced with work-friendly, safe environment bullshit, so that nobody is going to get a lawsuit or get sued or something for for crossing some line that they didn't know was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's awesome that you kind of mentioned that too, because we just talked about Becky Lynch. What really put her on the map is when she got punched by Nia Jax and she got the broken nose and blood was all over her face and she just embraced it, and that image of her with the bloody face and smiling, it's like iconic now, and that put her on the map and pushed her to stardom. So it's like, it's an aspect that, definitely is kind of missing sometimes. It's like, hey, and that was a mistake, but obviously that shit happens.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Even though fans think they know how everything works, they don't know. And I have the privilege of knowing a lot of what goes on in the blur in between that confuses the fans. And let's face it, when it comes to people that can take a set of heavy ass metal steps thrown into their forehead and have them pouring blood all over and keep fighting afterwards, that's something that you have to be a tough person. So even the fans that think this looks fun, I could do it, they're just playing. See if you could take a set of steel steps to the forehead, just pour your blood out all over your face, and see if you can keep going without crying and telling mommy to stitch you up or whatever, because that right there separates a lot of the fans from the people that can actually do this and that do this.
So you guys are a rare breed, I'll tell you that much. Rare breed. Another super chat. This one's off the beaten path. Mick Mac, a regular on the Road Dog podcast. He always tunes in, so thank you, Mick Mac. $2.99, thank you. He says, why did you team up with Ricardo Rodriguez? Rob, I forgot you did that actually in like 2013 and stuff during their feud with Alberto Del Rio. Talk about that experience a little bit.
Trying to remember exactly how it started. I mean, I know that I was working with Alberto Del Rio, and Rico was a manager for him, and but I don't know whose idea it was for him to switch sides. I can't remember like when the idea was first presented to me either. I just remember like it kind of something happened kind of quick. Like maybe he helped me a few times, favored me, or didn't hand Alberto the weapon when he asked for it, or something like that, to where he showed, that he wasn't really a heel. And then pretty soon I've got him announcing my name for me to come down to the ring. I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird. I remember seeing him wear the T-shirt, and I was like, "Dude, I totally forgot about that happened." I was seeing like videos online. When did he team with Ricardo? And then I was like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, Ricardo's been doing some stuff in MLW, and I've seen him in working with some people backstage and stuff. He seems like a pretty cool dude. So.
Yeah, no, he's got his own thing going on up in Pennsylvania. I wrestled last year for him. I think it was his first show, and he had a wrestling school that he was just opening, and now he's been around for a minute, and he's got a little bit of a track record going. But damn, where the hell was that? It was one of the Amish towns. It was a drive from Philly.
Lancaster?
It was Lancaster. Yeah, wow. Sure was. Good job.
Hey, thanks. I know my Amish towns.
Yeah, he's got a wrestling school there, and he runs a promotion there too.
I had no idea. Wow. Yeah. Well, that makes sense too, because he was at MLW in Philly, so it does make sense. That's not that far away. Speaking of that, Matt Riddle was announced to sign with Major League Wrestling today. One of your future opponents coming up. So
he was at Major League Wrestling. Is what you said?
Yeah, he just signed. He signed with them. They announced that he's with the company now, but he actually had a previous tenure there. Right before he signed with WWE, he was one of their main eventers there. So it's kind of neat. He's going back there full circle. So
nice. That's the one out of Baltimore, right? Or no?
That's the one. They're based out of New York City, but they do a lot of shows in Philly. They do a lot of shows in New York, and then they're going to Chicago here later next year. So that's kind of their core area that they go to. So
sweet. I got it mixed up with the ones out of Baltimore. It's maybe MCW. I don't know.
MCW, that's the one you're thinking of.
Okay.
Danny McDivitt.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Well, cool. We'll wrap this up here pretty quick. Guys, if you want to, Rob, I meant to be mentioning this to you, too. We almost have 200 people watching us right now. So
wow.
We're up to 186. Yeah, how about that? So thank you, everybody.
Yeah. I'm trying to...
cool.
I'm trying to look through like some of the messages right now, because people go through the trouble of Xing them.
Yeah,
I want to try to see some of them. So dude, we need some RVDology music. That's what we need, so that we just know what's coming when we start hearing this familiar
that music. I wonder, I'll have to try to find some copyright, some YouTube eligible stuff where we can just put it on. I'll get something good going though. I'll find something for us. Cool. Rob, you ready to wrap it up?
We got some conversation going here. I wish we had those on. I wish I could transfer those to the YouTube page somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Rob, I think you might be able to click on it. Can you click on the comment and they'll pop right up on the screen if there's something that you want to address?
Well, nothing happens when I click on it, but I just meant, just for the traffic on our YouTube page. Oh no, we're on our YouTube page, aren't we?
Oh,
are we or no?
Yeah, we're on our YouTube page.
But is the comment feed, is that part of the YouTube, or that's part of the
That's part of the YouTube. So that's how they're interacting with us, is through YouTube. So they're commenting,
cool.
And then typically when a super chat pops up, it'll highlight it, and then I'll be able to address it. And I try to keep my eyes peeled for some other good ones here. But here's a couple ones. People earlier in the show, we mentioned about having pets and stuff like that, and some people chimed in their stories here. So Simon Daw says, it was one of the hardest things I ever had to decide, but in the end, my German Shepherd had lived a good life. So it's always tough to put down animals, very tough to put down.
Yeah.
And then another revamped Wrestling 2K says, I have a Westie Poodle that is 12 years old, and I get sad because it's almost over, but I'm glad it's happened. See, it's very true.
Let me tell you something. You might think that you're going to have to deal with your dog and your dog's demise one way or another, but you don't know that. You really don't know. That dog might outlive you. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. And that might not be a very happy thing to say, but that is my perspective always. That's part of how I think, is when people talk about, someday, when my kid's 30 years old, I'll be doing this and that. You're like, you hope so, motherfucker. It's like, people don't normally live a whole expectancy window and then die of old age. They don't. My mom is 83, and I was telling her, we're having this conversation, and I was just like, I just turned 53. She's 30 years older than me, always has been. And, and I was just, thinking, like, man, that's great. My mom, she might die of old age, just by, she's going strong, she's healthy, and that's great. And I was just thinking, a lot of people don't do that, but they never expect to not do that. We're all just wired to think a certain way, to think, well, when I'm in my 40s, I'll probably settle down then and get married and all that's okay. You don't fucking know you're going to make it. You don't know you're going to meet someone that wants to be with you. You don't know any of that shit. I mean, how many people are going to die before the end of the week? A lot. How many that we know? God, let's hope none. But realistically, there's a decent chance that isn't true anyway. But whoever it is, I'm sure everyone that's dying that has a 12-year-old dog thinks they're going to be putting their dog down someday, and they're not.
It's a great point too, Rob. Like, if you're anybody that's living doesn't necessarily think, like, you always think you're going to get old. You don't know, but it's just like, you really don't know. And I've really tried to keep that in perspective too. Like, lately, is just being like, wow, oh, I got to look forward to this coming up, or I'm stressing out about this. Maybe I wouldn't have to. You just don't know.
I mean, it might come across kind of dismal. I don't want it to, but that is just the way that I always think. Like, that's my perspective. I know that, like I said, there's no guarantees, and I'm not planning on going anywhere for a long time. And a lot of people watching, they think, man, it's going to be sad when I see RVD go. Guess what, motherfuckers? You ain't even gonna you ain't gonna see it. You're not gonna outlive me. And you never even thought about that, did you? Never even thought about that. But I did. There's just as good of a chance, whether I know if it's true or not. You got to at least know that there's a good chance, or at least a chance. You don't even have to know it's a good chance, but you have to know that it's a chance that what I'm saying is true, that you might not live as long as you think that you're going to. And if you really can't see it that way, there's just no way you can bring yourself to admit that true possibility, then you're just not being real with yourself, and that's fine. We'll skip that RVDology lesson for you.
There we go. Right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get to RVDology in a sec. We got a couple super chats that just chimed in. BTF Wayne, thank you for $4. Says, peace, Rob. Pick two people. Pick two people to be the AEW champ in 2024. If you had to pick two people, Rob, who you going with in AEW?
Man, I to be AEW champs. That's what it was.
Yep, to be AEW.
MJF and Let me see. Did I say MJF?
You said MJF.
Okay. And another one will be Jungle Boy.
Ooh, all right. How about that? That would be an interesting one for sure. What about Sting? What if he ended his whole career by winning the title at Revolution and then retiring? That'd be something interesting.
Well, then he'd have to retire the belt too, wouldn't he? I don't know. I think if it's just like if you're applying for a job, you got to be able to work the schedule. I feel
that's a good point. You know, yeah. If you're applying to be AEW World Champ, you should probably stick around and, you know, punch in and out a couple of times at least, you know?
Yeah. It's like trying to get a job at Myers and then saying, I don't work mornings, days, or nights.
Just don't happen.
If you don't know Myers, that's a Midwest thing.
I don't know Myers. I don't.
You know, yeah. Saw it in Battle Creek, and I had
grocery store.
What's that? It's a huge fucking
grocery store?
Everything store. It's huge, like a Walmart.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Final super chat potentially here. He says, Nick Cross, Rob, Dominic, a very Merry Christmas to you both, and have a Happy New Year. Thank you for everything you've done and do. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Nice. Yeah, appreciate
very much. Yes.
All right.
Cool, man. I get a lot of people that tell me that they like our podcast and they're digging it. And then, but then sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I look at like the views, like on the clips on my YouTube, and I'm like, oh wow, you know, I got 12 views. Now it's usually if we get 1,000. Honestly, like that's good for us. Like, wow, that's kind of the standard where if it's like 300, then I was like, you know, how long has it been up there? Hopefully it hasn't been up there that long. When it breaks 1,000, then it's like, ooh. And then some people that really know how to get the algorithm or whatever the factors are. I don't think it's just the content. I don't.
No, it's not. It's definitely a lot of factors.
Yeah. But yeah, like Maven. You can get 500,000 and he's rocking it. That's fucking awesome. But as long as people let me know that I am reaching them, though, then it makes it still worth doing. You know, if some people tell me I'm helping them live a better life or whatever, then boom. You know, I don't need 500,000 people to tell me that. But if I get a couple, then I know I'm not wasting my time.
Right, you're doing it. You're right in the thick of things. Brad Armstrong would say. Speaking of helping people out. Rob.
He had my birthday too. I forget about him, right?
Did he? Brad Armstrong was your same birthday as you, December 18th?
Used to be.
Yeah, right?
It still is. Yeah, I forgot about that. Christina.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve Austin.
Yep, and Trish. And DX.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Do you see my papers, baby? Oh, I do. Never mind. You're still kicking it over there, taking a nap.
How about it? Hanging in there. Cherishing that time. All right, Rob. It is time.
We got all the questions
we got all the questions. Guys, if you want to get last minute ones in, hit the super chat. Otherwise, we're doing RVDology and we're closing this baby out. So, Rob, RVDology time. What do you have for us this week?
Well, dude, it's a Christmas special. And everyone's in the joy of Christmas spirit. However, I want to talk about keeping positive energy through the holiday season and past that as well. And I want to talk about specifically, I want to talk about mental health. This time of year, and this isn't even an RVDology value. If it is, I don't know what to call it except for keeping positive energy, which this is a root of. But basically, I want to share my perspective. Now, if you think that drugs are bad, then you probably know that you and I don't agree on that. I believe that use is good and abuse is bad. I've had many, many, many friends overdose on the drugs. I never thought it was the drugs' fault. I know so many people that drink themselves to diseases, to trouble, to horrible lives, and people aren't trying to get rid of the alcohol. Like they are with the OxyContins and with all of the painkillers. It's very, very hard for people to get any pain pills that actually need them, that actually wouldn't have a substance abuse problem and would have a better quality of life using these, but they can't get them because of all of the people that abused it, that turned it into an epidemic, that changed the perspective and somehow made the drugs the bad guy. I don't share that view with you. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is because I want to talk about mental health. And this time of year, it's yay, Christmas, joyous time of year, but also it's cold as fuck. It's dark. The days are shorter. And then we got memories of maybe like Christmases when we were younger, when we were kids, and maybe people that used to be around that aren't. Maybe there's pressure with all the holiday shopping and getting out there and dealing with the traffic. But it's a challenging time of the year. And I have gotten so many people reach out to me, and they've always told me that I affect them, inspire them, positive energy. I've had quite a few people tell me that they've been so depressed that they felt like suicidal and like they're battling. And one, that's a lot of pressure for someone to come to you with, and for you to think that it's your obligation to fix them. However, if you care, you don't want that person to die. And if you have some words that maybe could be helpful, why the hell not help somebody? So I think that's what I'm doing. So depression is a real thing that many people won't acknowledge. They treat it like it's not a real thing. It's just all in your head. And I'm somebody that is very much attached to positive energy, manifesting the life that you want, the law of attraction, the power of your thoughts becoming reality. I'm into all of that. However, I do also believe that there's some limits, I love martial arts. Do I really think that the instructor can make himself grow roots through his feet into the earth so that he's unliftable? All with his focus? Fuck no. And I called him on that. You know what I did in front of the class? I lifted him off the ground twice. He said, man, let me try again. You're just strong. Okay, try again. I was like, come on, dude. So, but likewise, no matter how much positive energy you got, no matter how much you try to keep everything in focus and perspective and keep the attitude of gratitude, be friendly, love, be loved, sometimes there's still depression. Sometimes all of that shit isn't enough. And some of my listeners probably know what I'm talking about. So people that don't believe what I'm saying is true are going to say, what do you got to be depressed about? You got a great life. Or you need to get outside. You need to get outdoors. You need to get away from that, whatever. They got the answers. But in reality, brain chemistry, it's everything. It controls everything of how we feel. And our brain chemistry sometimes gets unbalanced. We have so much going on all day with our brain. And, there's certain serotonins and dopamines, and there's certain hormones that are released. And all of that affects different things, from moods, like depression or happiness, down to working with the stomach and making you hungry. And what's that shit that's their liver releases? Anyway, that's not important. What's important is that sometimes some medication can help balance you out. And the haters are going to tell you you're weak. They're going to tell you you don't need it. It's all in your head. You're just depressed because you keep thinking about that girl that dumped you, or that thing, or that person that you lost, or whatever. But in reality, sometimes some medication might be made perfect for you to help equalize and balance your brain chemistry, so that, you know what, you're not weak anymore, so that you can talk without crying and actually feel strong and be able to enjoy life again. And you know what? You might need it for a temporary amount of time just to get you out of the hole you're in. You might need it for a very long time. And you know what? You might even need it for life. Now, ooh, that's scary, right? People don't want to be hooked on a drug and depend on a drug like it's a crutch. And I get it. I mean, that's the way that we're taught to look at most medicines. Your body becomes addicted to it so much that you can't be without it. But some people have faulty wiring in their brain, and without the proper medication, they're not going to have the properly balanced brain chemistry. What do these people do? Kill themselves. They stay depressed, can't get out of it. So I'm telling you, keep checking on me to make sure I'm okay. This is heavy. This is a heavy one. But, you never know what someone else is going through. And I always say that. And lately we've been spending our time watching Petrie just wither away, which isn't fun. And it could be really easy to get depressed. And I do believe in all of the tactics, about, think positive thoughts. And it is good to get out and do happy stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I would never turn my back on drugs the way the society has been taught to since Nancy Reagan said, just say no to drugs. Drugs can be wonderful if they're used properly. They have the potential to be dangerous, just like anything, like a gun, like a car, like a dog. It doesn't make them bad. And when people say drugs are bad, they're obviously only thinking about certain drugs, and they're not really even including drugs and what drugs are. They're being very particular and defining with their own borders what drugs are. Drugs are drugs. Aspirin is drugs, just like heroin is drugs. And for the record, heroin, morphine, cocaine, all that shit used to be in medicine. They used to be sold in bottles and cough syrup and things like that. And anyway, my point is that sometimes you need a little help. And if you need a little help and you want to get checked out by a doctor, and a doctor might want to put you on some antidepressants or something, don't fucking feel like a pussy and don't be afraid to do it. RVD's telling you to fucking do it. I take them. My mom does. My brother, my sister, my dad did. My wife does. And as far as getting addicted and having them as a crutch or whatever, dude, not everybody is even addictive. I've said this many times. I don't get addicted to anything. I don't care how many people tell me that if I drink 4 cups of coffee every day for 2 weeks, don't stop, I'll get a headache. I don't care if I have 5,000 people tell me that. It still doesn't make it true. I drank 5 or 6 cups of coffee today, 5 or 6 yesterday. You know what? If I don't drink any tomorrow, because instead I get up and I go on a flight and I want to sleep on the flight, so I don't want to have whatever. Doesn't mean I'm going to feel the way that you do. I do it all the time. And just because you might have a problem with it doesn't mean I do. And also, just because you don't have a problem coping with life and feeling good doesn't mean everyone else is the same either. We all got our own brain chemistry, our own makeup. And I used to think that it was weed, and weed does help me feel better, you know what I mean? But I used to think that was enough, and there was a point when it wasn't enough. But if you all watch that wrestler show on Netflix that El Snow did, Hollywood Haley was saying that she smokes weed and it helps her with depression, and they were trying to get her to stop, saying they didn't want her to smoke. And that was the point of her argument, was they don't understand. This actually helps me. But you know what? If a doctor put her on pills or something, and I'm not saying everybody should, and a lot of people have had bad experience. I know of some people that weren't suicidal until they got on Prozac and took Prozac and drank on it, and then they became suicidal. And I know that that can happen, but, you know, that's really just like if you open up your heart to a new relationship, it's possible you might get heartbroken. That can happen. Doesn't mean it's going to, doesn't mean there's a great chance of it. And by the way, you might have to try different pills, different dosages until you find the one that's just exactly right for you. And then it takes like 2 weeks of that till you even fucking know. That's been my experience. Grieving. They say grieving is healthy, right? It's healthy. Is it? I think so. At certain times you have to grieve. And if you don't get a chance to grieve and it builds up, that sometimes seems like it can come out in opportune moments. But if grieving is healthy, you know, when it's too much, when you're grieving too much all the time and you can't kick out, you know, when is it too much? When is it healthy? There's people to help you with that. There's doctors. You don't need to decide everything yourself. If you're even questioning it, if you're wondering, like if I'm down too much, or I'm just focused on all the bad and sad and can't get out of it, any of us can get there. Any of us can get there. And if it's you, then I give you permission to try and get some help. It's not easy, but pick up the phone. Dominic's going to put a phone number right here. No, I don't think we have one, but look what I don't have. Maybe we'll get one. We should have thought of that. Anyway, dude, everyone is different. You know, we talked about, like with the animals, how we put them down when they sometimes maybe too early, sometimes who knows. With people, aside from Dr. Kevorkian's death machine, you know, it's some people would wish that they could just die, and then, you know, there's people that are super depressed that find a way to hit their own button anyway, and of course that's when I'm just talking about suicide. And around this time of year, I think it can be kind of high. I'm putting my awareness out there, telling you guys to be aware, talk about your own stories, talk about your own feelings, get open, share it, and don't let anybody tell you that you're a pussy and you got no reason to be depressed. If you're depressed, you're depressed, and I'll tell you the reason why. It's brain chemistry. So tell them to fuck off.
That's great, Rob. I also take medication, and I see a therapist. It helps. It saved my life on several occasions. And to your point too, a lot of experimenting and going with it and trying to find the right medication to be what takes a while. But
yeah, I had horrible. That was horrible for me, trying the wrong things. Sometimes I'd go out and I'd just be bawling. I wouldn't even know it was coming. I'd be out at dinner and just start crying. I was like, I don't think I got the right meds. I think we got to try something else or switch this up. Yeah, but it wasn't a good experience. Don't do all that. But But then once I found it, it took, everyone told me it would take 2 weeks. And it was like exactly at 2 weeks that all of a sudden I could be like, yeah, my dad died and I'm not balling. My dog died. Whoa. All of a sudden it was like magic. It was like, it wasn't numb. It was good. It felt strong. It felt like something was pushing back that thing that was trying to come out. Is that how it was with you?
Yeah, it was. And there would be moments where like I was seriously depressed, and like seriously there'd be just moments where I would like, yeah, I'd feel lonely or I'd cry or anything like that would happen. And like in that moment where like, and different experiment, like I had several medications. One made my hands shake. The other one would like, I would zone out and like just not for me. I think it was, I don't even remember what they were, Wellbutrin or whatever it was. Either way.
I take that one and Lexapro.
So Lexapro, that's the one that made my handshake, actually.
Yeah. So everyone's different. Everyone wants to tell you what works based on their own experience, and they're all idiots for that.
Absolutely. And it's like, it fits to your brain chemistry and what it is. And I think a key to kind of take away and what I've learned over the time is when you're in the thick of your feelings and you're feeling depressed and stuff like that, you can't take that for reality. It's not necessarily reality. It's just what your body and your brain is telling you, that their chemistry is all mixing it up and making you feel a certain way. And that's very hard to keep in perspective at times. And but great RVDology, Rob. This is a lot of people have already commented in it too.
Good. And you're right. That's why it feels like there's like a big wall of darkness that surrounds you and you can't see past it, no matter how much happy shit you got going on in your life.
Right, 100%.
That's the reality, is only as far as you can see, and it's nothing but dark. So, yeah, happens to all of us. Well,
absolutely.
Some of all of us.
Some of all of us.
Not just you is what I'm saying.
You're right. Dino says, you're honestly one of the most level-headed guys talking about mental illness and appropriate drug use. Again, the brain can malfunction just like anything else in the body. Keep it real, RVD.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, I should probably talk about my personal experience even more than I do, but felt inspired to do it right now. Good time with everything that's going on. Jennifer, love you, Jennifer, says, I love what y'all are talking about right now. It's pretty cool that men can talk about mental health. Solid ass men. So that's cool. Yeah, good, man. Hopefully some people will appreciate it. And we are mission driven here to make the world a better place.
Indeed. TK Man gave us $20. You didn't have to do that, man, but thanks. Love the chat, Rob. Like chilling with an old friend. So
awesome.
Very interesting.
Right on.
Guys, you go back and listen to this too again if you need to, because Rob definitely made salient points and it really speaks to the experience that people suffering through mental health goes through. It really does too. So very cool stuff. As far as what you guys like, what you see, hey, follow Rob at The Real RVD. Follow the RVD Pod at rvdpod.com. Get all the clips there. You can follow me at Dominic D'Angelo. If you like what you're hearing, you can tune in early if you don't catch it live at the Premier Streaming Network every Friday at 4:20 p.m. This drops early, but you can get everywhere starting out Monday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on your podcast feed of choice, or on YouTube potentially too. So like, subscribe, share, comment, give us some feedback. Constructive criticism is always good. And hey, love your pets, love yourself, and keep everything in perspective, guys. Rob, what a great show. This has been an awesome one. We had over 200 people listening at
RVD. Awesome. And don't forget to get your pets neutered. No one's going to know that unless
listen to that guy, Bob Parker.
Hey, you got to make good. You got
it. There he is. Come on down. Yep. That's great.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, guys. Have a good one.
Van Terminator!